The video I did reacting to the Everything's Going to Be All White trailer got a lot more attention than I was expecting. I didn't even know that everyone else on the platform would be talking about it as much as it would appear that they are. So that shows me two things. One, I'm not crazy. And two, if it bleeds, it leads. Empty. So in the past week or so and some change since the drop of the trailer, they have since turned off the comments on the video. I don't know why they would do something like that, but as well as dropped the first episode right on YouTube for everyone to see. And oh my gosh, I just couldn't help myself. So I'm going to sit here with you guys and we're going to watch together the first few minutes of it, and I'm going to give my thoughts.
Subscribe, please. Because. Subscribe, please. Yes.
So dramatic.
This is a tale of two Americas. One white, one not, and of countless dreams too long deferred.
Are there two Americas? What's so interesting about it is it's kind of a melting pot, it's like, of course there are two Americas, the white one and the not white one, and my experience is different. Any country you go to, for the most part, there's going to be a majority of one, and then, you have the minorities.
We're going to be taking a hard look at white America.
White America.
From the perspective of people of color.
Because that's the best perspective you can get it from. That's the true perspective.
Many different people of color. And there's no better place to begin than January 6, 2021.
Why is January 6th the best place to begin? Maybe, I don't know, Jim Crow, the Jim Crow South back in the day. Hell, the Million Man March, slavery. January 6th, the January 6th thing, I need you guys to understand, and this is my opinion, right? It was spun to us to look a certain way for political reasons. That does not condone the tomfoolery of certain people who were there when that happened. Things are not what they appear. I will just leave it at that.
D.C. leaders preparing for pro-Trump supporters coming back to protest based on false claims of election fraud.
Tens of thousands of the president's supporters came to Washington at his request for a protest.
At his request.
Turned into a riot.
Doing it.
Now, if you're a true white patriot, you probably watched the news that day, alarmed by everything happening to your country.
I truly believe that. Biden needs to go to prison.
There'll be a war in this country. It's that simple. 80 million Americans are not going to allow their freedom to be taken.
Got footage of the most radical, crazy nut jobs. And get this, there are crazy, radical nut jobs on both sides of the political spectrum. People are always going to think that they were done dirty and that there are naughty goings-ons. It's just it's oh, well, you won. That possibly can't be it. They must have stole the vote. You're always going to run into this stuff. Always. It's guaranteed.
You may have told yourself some bullshit like, this is not who we are.
We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution.
But if you're a person of color, you were probably making dinner, washing your car.
The Asian guy, he had a shirt that said China. Just a red shirt that just said China.
Or doing some other regular shit, because none of this is new. White folks throw hissy fits every time they're feeling fragile. And these days, they're feeling fragile as shit. Now wait, just a cotton-picking minute.
Let me tell you something. White people can burn down a city after the Super Bowl, and they're called unruly fans. White people can riot at the Capitol without fear. But let more than 5 black people gather at a barbecue in the park, and the riot police will roll up on horses like it's the Planet of the Apes.
That's racist. Joe Rogan made the same joke, did the same bit, and he was called a racist. So I don't know Like when it comes to the January 6th, protest about like, oh, well, if black people did that, it would be a completely different story. And you usually will hear it compared to the riots that happened, the peaceful protests, in light of the George Floyd incident. Now, I can only speak from my personal experience. What happened to me, what I saw. I live in the city of Philadelphia. Philadelphia was one of the cities where a lot of people were protesting and a lot of chaos and madness was going down. We read about it in the news. I was at work. Me and my brother both worked at the same place. And basically our boss was like, yo, it is getting really crazy outside. We're just going to send you all home. Going out into the streets during these peaceful protests, the things that I saw, the things that I heard, these were not peaceful protests. The same exact way that like newsrooms, like, I don't know, just throwing one out here, CNN, the way that CNN portrays the January 6th protests is the exact same thing that I saw during the George Floyd protests back in 2020. Oh, well, that was peaceful protests, or like, oh, these were white supremacists, or like, oh, because of the location, because it was at the Capitol, it's completely different. Violence and just drawling behavior of any sort is never acceptable. It is never acceptable. It is never okay. Surprisingly, even though these are two completely different sides of the political spectrum, and these were both over two different things. One was about being upset about election results. The other one was upset about police brutality. Both were wrong. Both were wrong. And I've lost friends. I've had family mad at me over my opinions on what happened back in 2020 with the George Floyd peaceful protests. You had to be there. You had to be in it to see it. And anyone who tries to justify the madness and the chaos and the debauchery that went down in the streets of multiple cities across America during that time is a fool. Same thing goes for the January 6th people. If it bleeds, it leads. That's what's going to get the attention. However, what the mainstream news media has done is spin these narratives and make it into a race thing. Like, how is it again that the January 6th thing is becoming a race thing? What does that have to do with white America? To make it seem like this is a white thing and to be like, oh, well, if you were a person of color, you were probably washing your car or having dinner or doing some other type of ish. Like that in itself, I'm sorry, that is racist. This is the same exact, like, just from the rip already, this is the same type of propaganda that you saw back in like Nazi Germany.
Everybody needs to stop criticizing white people. You need to thank us. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have no cool stuff like the internet. Facts.
Oh, this is cringy. Every day. Oh, everything's turning white, guys. The school, white. The sky, white. White fence. White money. White chicken. This is really cringy. Oh. Everything's going to be all white.
We are African, and we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us.
What does the idea little white lie mean?
I assume that it means that there are moments in time when people are perhaps disingenuous and don't necessarily tell the truth about something, but it's viewed as something that isn't necessarily a social faux pas and that is not really a bad thing.
A little white lie? Well, I don't believe there's such a thing as a little white lie. I think a lie is a lie.
My brother.
Use the phrase a little white lie means that if you tell the white lie, it's better than telling any other kind of lie because it's a white lie. That little white lie could very well be American history.
Seems like a bit of a stretch, don't you think?
We already know everything we need to know about American history. And I think that one of the definitions of American whiteness is not knowing American history. I'll call it by its name, ignorance.
What is the intent of distorting history?
The intent of distorting history is because if you keep people disempowered and not thinking that they have any self-worth, then they are easier to manipulate. The idea is that, you know, you make us the enemy. It's all propaganda.
It is all propaganda. And like, get this, I see what they're getting at. We've all heard these theories. We've all heard these things. I'm not even saying that there wasn't a time in American history where some of these things weren't true. However, I am here to tell you, my beautiful Black brothers and sisters, I am here to tell you right now, again, as I said in my last video, racism is not waiting behind a corner to devour you. I know that that's an easy out. I know that it's very convenient, but that just isn't the case. I'm sorry to tell you, but like every horrible thing in the world is not because of white people. Every horrible thing in the world is because of people, because people are fallen, because people have sin. That is why things are terrible. That is why people are horrible. That's why people do bad things to other people, regardless of whatever reason, whether it be because of their race, because they think that they can take advantage of them. Yeah. There used to be slavery in America. A good chunk of America's economy, when it first started off, was built because we had slave labor. No one's trying to erase that. No one's trying to sugarcoat that. No one's trying to erase that. Same thing with the civil rights movement of the 1960s, because things, there was a lot of discrimination because people were still sour after the Civil War happened. But get this, that does not mean that the very core of our country is drenched and written in racism. Everything in the country revolves around people hating me and people that look like me because me. That's how it sounds. That's how it comes off. That's how it comes off. And again, I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist. I'm not saying that systematic racism isn't a little bit of a thing. However, it is not what you think. It's not what you've been told. In all honesty, most of the time, things that are terrible are because people are terrible and or personal decisions that people make, including you. Everyone's terrible. There, no discrimination there. Everyone's terrible. Everyone is flawed. There you go. It's not a white thing.
And so when you talk about the history of white people, you should probably research it the same way you would research a business. Check out the Yelp review, and Yelp will tell the story. Well, if somebody looked up America and America was on Yelp, America would have a 1 star, and that is only because you can't do less than 1.
Yelp reviews are probably not always the most reliable thing. You know how many people go on Yelp and just complain about the most trivial things in the world? Yelp, I don't think that Yelp is a good and I don't care what anyone says, America is the greatest country on earth. My brother, you have a problem with America, you think America has a 1 star on Yelp, go somewhere else that's better and tell me your experience and let me know your Yelp review for somewhere else. Why does America think that we used to have slaves and we weren't always so nice to everyone? That's every country everywhere. You better join the club. Seriously. They meet first Wednesdays of every month. You know, after your second month, you get a jacket. Calm down.
Nobody lies to themselves better than white Americans.
Black Americans are pretty good at lying to themselves too. I would argue all Americans, no matter your race, are pretty good at lying to themselves. It is not exclusively a white thing.
So it makes perfect sense that white folks rioted at the Capitol, because so many still believe the lies about the 2020 election, about the country, about themselves.
I'm sorry. I just can't anymore. I don't know if I can even get through this entire episode. From the rip, a lot of people in the comments were telling me oh, well, can you really make a good judgment off of a 2-minute trailer? And I would say that I made a pretty good judgment call. The first 50 some odd seconds of this show, it shows you what it is. The writing's on the wall. This show gives you a lot of misinformation. It clearly has a bias. And I know the whole gimmick is oh, it's from the person of color point of view, but that's still a bias. We do need different perspectives. You need a perspective from everyone, because if you get different perspectives from different viewpoints, then you can take that information and you can have a better idea of what actually happened at something. However, this kind of idea that we can never listen to what a white person says, we can only listen to what a black person says or a person of color because they're going to give us the real view, that is a lie. I can't tell you how many stories of false hate crimes perpetrated by people of color that have gone down in like the past like 3-4 years, it's insane. It's an insane number, but they don't really get reported on. Do your research. Now, this doesn't mean that people of color are just automatically full of crap. It doesn't mean that white people are perfect. Again, my whole thing is people are terrible. People suck. People are full of sin. Everyone is fallen. Everyone falls short. That is the point. Sin transcends race. Doesn't that make you feel better? You're all terrible. What do you guys think? I would love to hear your comments. The last video, you know, the discussions in there were really, really popping. I'm gonna try to get back to as many of y'all as possible, but please, I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you like the video, like the video, or dislike the video, because I can still see them. I can still see the dislikes. We embrace the dislike button here on the channel. But thank you guys again. I'll try to get another one out to you, you know, ASAP. So until next time, peace.